Blog Talk Radio.
One, two, three, up. Wake up and live your. Wake up and live. Wake up and live now. Wake up and live. Life is one big road with lots of signs. So when you're riding through the ruts, don't you complicate your mind. Flee from hate, mischief and jealousy. Don't bury your thoughts, put your vision to reality. Yeah. All together now, wake up and live. Wake up and live. Wake up and wake up and live. Yeah. Wake up and wake up and live. Rise, ye mighty people. Yeah. There's work to be done, so let's do it little by little. Yes, 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 yes. We're more than sand and the seashore. We're more than number. All together.
All right, wake up and live, wake up and live, wake up and live. All right, good evening again, and welcome to True Talks with Ifa-Fa. And tonight, we have an episode for you here entitled Ifa-Fa-Afa and ORISA Ethics. And when we talk about Ifa-Fa-Afa-Orisa Ethics, you know, ethics in itself is something that we're talking about what is good to do and what is not good to do, you know? Yes, you know, what is, especially when you have to make moral decisions about how you want to conduct yourself or how is your character, you know? And in the African traditions, in the West African traditions, to be specific, we always hear the word coming from the Yoruba persuasion called Iwa-Kwele, Iwa-Rere. And it's basically talking about having gentle and good character. But cultivating gentle and good character is a process, especially for many of us, you know. If we weren't raised with these concepts in mind of, you know, how to conduct ourselves in different situations. And then to compound just your moral behavior of having gentle and good character, in the traditions that we practice of Ifa-Fa-Afa and Orisha, there are sets of rules that we follow as well. So these things are what we're going to be discussing here tonight in terms of how what is ethical to do and what is not ethical to do in our Ifa-Fa-Afa and Orisha traditions. So I'd like to welcome everybody who is online now and giving thanks for another day and another episode of True Talks with Ifa-Fa. I'd like to do them as often as I possibly can, but sometimes, you know, my other duties as a priest, a healer, diviner takes a lot of time away from, you know, scheduling and things like that. So I'm always willing to get different people to come co-sponsor the show. I'm also willing to, you know, have special guests that will be, you know, they will be the general topic of the show. But tonight, it's just me and you here tonight, and I'd like to, you know, do a dialogue thing where people, you know, you can raise your hand by pressing 1 and, you know, ask a question or make a statement comment. All right? When we talk about ethics, you know, our traditions look at the Odus, and the Odus are basically the oracles by which we live by and follow for our daily life. As a matter of fact, it is said that, everybody has an Odu. Even the people who don't even know what an Odu is. Everybody has an Odu because it is said in the Yoruba persuasion that when we are coming from heaven to become a human being, we make these agreements. And upon making these agreements with God, which is we call Olodumare, and we have some witnesses there. And one of the witnesses is called Oromila, and he's actually given the title called Ileri Ipin, Witness to Creation. So, and Oromila knows all our different agreements that we make. And so when we come to earth, we have some of us, a lot of us, many of us really have a hard time keeping our agreements because our agreements have a bunch of taboos attached to them as well. Okay? So we have all these things that we should and we shouldn't do, which can make life a little bit difficult, not just for ourselves, but for other people. And then we have the aspect of initiation, where you actually come into the priesthood one way or the other, and for several reasons, you can be initiated into the priesthood. And when you're initiated into the priesthood, the taboos even get more compounded, because then these taboos relate to what you should do and you shouldn't do as a priest yourself, aside from just being a human being and aside from your own personal destiny. There are many other taboos that you have to pay attention to. But I got the idea for this show because of a recent thing that happened to me, and it reminded me that not everybody is always on the same page when it comes to something that is supposed to be general. Okay? And when I say general, human beings in general, we should know, let me put it there, we should know what is right from wrong to do, what is customs, what a culture, especially if we say we are inside of a particular tradition or we are adhering to it. We should know what the customs are. How are you going to say you're in Ifa-Orisha initiate and you don't know what the customs are? A matter of fact, I don't know if any of you know the Cuban Babalao and advocate for Santeria and Lukumi here in Florida. His name is Willie Ramos. Anyway, between Willie Ramos and they have the Church of Lukumi Santeria. I think it's Church of Babalu Aye Lukumi Santeria in Hialeah, Florida. And just the other day I ran across where he scheduled to have some Orisha classes and how to become an Olorisha. What are the general across-the-board rules of being an Olorisha to include, the practices and the customs and stuff. So that's scheduled to start and it's pretty reasonable, the classes. It's scheduled to start in September. And, of course, you can check that out if you're interested. But it's only for people who have already been initiated. And the reason why he did that is because he was finding that across the board, different people just did a lot of different things that were custom, but still not put in place. Not everybody is not doing it. Some people are just doing it different, and so many different variations that now people are beginning to think, well, that's how it is, when it's not like that, because there are many specific type of customs that people follow in the Lukumi Santeria traditions. Okay, so I understand that, and I think it's a very good class, and it's I think it's like $25. I don't know if that's for I think it's $50 for the registration and $25 per class, I believe. And I don't know exactly how many classes, but you can check out eleda.org. That's spelled ELEDA.org, okay? And you could find them on Facebook as well, and you could just look it up on Google and get it if you want to, delve into it any further. So now, some of the things we're going to discuss here tonight with our topic. Oh, somebody already raised their hand. I'm coming to you, 917. Okay, just give me a moment. Let me get my introduction out first. Somebody, okay, I know, it's anxious. Okay, that's very good. I like the interaction. So we're going to be talking about ethics, right? We're going to be talking about ethics. And when we talk about ethics, the first sign or the first level of reference that we look at in Ifa-Fa-Afa and ORISA life is the Odu Ikafun, which happens to be yours truly's Odu in Ifa, in Afa, actually. Okay? And Ikafun is where the laws are born in Ifa, is where you'll find that people need to look at the, general laws, like, people should not lie, okay? Don't lie. Don't lie, don't perform initiatory acts like ebos, divination, and things like that, if you don't know them, okay? Don't, I'm trying to get them across to you guys right now. I mean, when you look at the essay of Yoruba, meaning the stories, the patakis and the things, the written words that explain these odus and different things, you will find that they write them in a sort of poetry fashion, like getting yam and all of this type of thing. Okay, boy, we got 3 hand raised up here. Ooh, buddy. Okay, hand raised. Okay, I'm getting to everybody. 917, I'm getting to you. I got another 917. I got a 678 raised hand. Okay, I'm going to open the lines in a minute so you all can introduce yourself and talk a little bit, okay? But let's get these rules out. So we have in Ikafun, that's the Odu, and for all of you who are into the tradition, you can go and look it up. I mean, even for the novice, for the people who are just devotees, a lot of this information is online. So you can actually do your Google and look and see, what these things are talking about, these odus. So the third thing was you shouldn't deceive people financially or spiritually. You should not claim a wisdom that you are not entitled to. And you should be humble. You should humble yourself and not be egotistical, egocentric. You should not be treacherous. You should take taboos seriously, especially the taboos, buddy. The taboos, it might seem simple. They tell you don't eat this or don't eat that, and you're thinking it's not going to do you anything, but then when you look around, it's doing you a lot. You should not break your taboos, and you should always be trustworthy. You should not take a walking cane from a blind person, meaning respect people who are not into the tradition in general, and people, who don't understand it, people with disabilities, people like that, okay? You should not take a cane from an elderly person. Respect people that are older than you, that, are elder to you, and they don't have to be in the tradition. And some of these laws are laws across the board for any society, So, Ifa is not really far out of touch and so hard to do, different from the other societies. okay, the Ifa and ORISA life. So it says, do not take an Ogboni's wife, meaning, or husband, meaning, you got to respect the moral laws. You can't be, out lusting and enticing women or men that are already married, to come and be with you. And, calling them out their names and all this type of stuff. That's another thing, that's another story by itself, because curse words are like general right now for everybody, even on the television, especially. I remember on the television you couldn't use a curse word. You couldn't see a naked body, yeah, I'm that old. But, so this thing about the wife and the husband to it also came out in the Odu for this year, which is Otura Meji. And that's one of the 16 major Odus of Ifa or Afa. They're all the same. And it warns about the men, especially not going after women that are married or that are in relationships and things like that. And because Ifa said, they're going to be punished. So and it warns in general about abuses of women anyway. We almost there. We got 16 of them. So the next one is you should not sleep with your friend, wife, or husband. Okay? That's the same thing as betrayal. Okay? So you shouldn't betray anybody. And you should not go behind and discuss secrets, to betray the trust of someone. Okay? Don't go and discuss the secrets with somebody else. That is not privileged to know. Because if you're in a group of babalaos, you're in a group, say you're in a misa or things like that, the information comes out for everybody to hear. So that's a totally different type of thing. That when you're in a misa, and that's basically that was something that recently happened to me too. I got accused of saying something that happened in the misa, but when all investigations proved true, it was the very person that the thing was said about them to somebody that actually released it, even though the Eguns, which are the ancestors and guides that were at the misa, told the person not to say anything, to keep it in there, keep it within the place that it happened amongst the people. But they went and spread the news themselves, and then from there it went to somebody, people don't keep secrets. It's very difficult. So anyway, then the next one is you should not disrespect. And they have a true babalao or Orisha. Now, you see, that's kind of hard, because that's like saying you could disrespect a babalao so long as they're not a true babalao. But, that's another episode by itself. Why there's so much blatant disrespect of babalaos these days. That's another episode by itself. I even got accused of that too. I got accused of they mistake challenge for disrespect. They mistake questions for disrespect. When we say disrespect, you must know that, okay, if you ask a question, and it depends also how you ask the question, that you really expect to get an answer for the question, okay? And if you can't answer the question, or if you were disrespectful at the time you asked the question, then it would be evident. Everybody would see that you're disrespectful. You know what I mean? Okay? They would see it if you answer it, especially in social media. So, okay, I'm going to open the lines, and then there's a critical paper that I want to introduce about African ethics. And it goes to the core of our discussion tonight because it talks about character, okay? And if any of you know anything about this way of life that we practice, that developed in Nigeria, coming from the Yoruba people and all of this. The next word beside Ashe is everybody know Iwa Pwele, right? Everybody know Iwa Pwele, Iwa Rere, be gentle, be good, and have this gentle and good character. So I'm going to open up 917. 917, you're on the air with True Talk to the Feofe.
Oh, I watched it in your pajamas.
Excuse me? Hello? I'm hearing you, but you sound muffled. What did you say? (917) Okay. Let me put you back on hold. Let me put you on mute. Area code 678, you're on the air. Did you raise your hand? I don't think so. If you're hearing me, okay. Maybe they didn't hear me. Okay, area code 917 again. You're on the air to talk to the Feofe.
Hi, this is 917.
Good evening.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello there. Hello.
Hello, everybody.
I love your Shani. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Greetings
you wanted
from
to say something?
Yes, I want to ask a question. How does one obtain How does one obtain the taboos of the Odu that they receive? Is it usually another? Is it usually another ceremony that the Babalawo charges you for, or should he give you your taboos with the actual Odu?
Yeah, the taboos are embedded in the Odus, you know. And
so when he's giving you your Odu, he should give you your taboos too, correct?
Of course, if that is the Odu of it all depends. If that is the Odu of your destiny, if it's the Odu of your destiny, I mean, then every Odu has taboos, every last one of them. Even when you're doing just a general reading to find out how things are in your life, but if you're actually initiating, you know, getting your Ishifa, your first hand of Ifa, where you're finding out, well, who would be your Ori, you know, the different Orishas that come with you, are you finding out those things? And so if you're finding out those things, then that would be the Odu that, you know, definitely they need your mama name and all of this stuff in order to ascertain that information. So it all depends. What kind of reading was it?
It was my very first Ifa reading.
Okay, was your very first Ifa reading. So were you told not to do something, and did you have to do a bow?
Yeah, I had to do a bow.
Mhm.
But I wasn't given a list of things to do and not to do. Okay.
So maybe that was just a general reading, and even within a general reading, for example, in a general reading, sometimes there is a time frame in which you can do and not do certain things. Okay.
Okay.
Because they might tell you, for instance, don't go out on the street for 7 days. Unless you absolutely have it, unless there's an emergency or you have to. Like maybe if you work outside of your home, don't go out. You know, things like that. So if it's a general reading, you might get very, you know, specific warnings, but it would be just for those Odus that came out in that reading. So I gather the reading that you had was from a Babalawo and not from, you know, Olorisha priest or anything like that. Was it a Babalawo that you got the reading from? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And I've actually had two, and I had one about a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get taboos for that one either.
See,
I live in New York.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I live in New York. So
Mm-hmm.
the the practices in New York are not equivalent to the practices down south. I think the practices down south are a bit more genuine and honest. Because speaking from experience in the tradition for 2 years, it's kind of like if. How can I explain it without being out of character?
Let me ask you a question or two, and then we're going to get back to our discussion. But I want to ask you, how far have you gone into the? When you say you're into the tradition, what does that actually mean? You've gone through some sort of initiation already?
No.
Okay. So when you actually become, quote unquote, a member of the Ile or the spiritual house, there's some initiatory process that you go through, okay? And with the initiatory process, definitely the odus come that way, and the odus are more permanent. Even though, listen to this, of late it's been brought to my attention, and of course I'm debating it with some babalaos. I hope they don't say I'm disrespecting the babalaos, but I'm debating with the babalaos because the babalaos, some and a few babalaos, not from the diaspora, but a few African babalaos, from Nigeria, are saying that the only way that you can know your true destiny is to do Ifa. Now, Ifa means that you're fully initiated. You've gone where you get Ifa is one hand of Ifa, and Ifa is two hands. So you got your two hands of Ifa, right? And then you go on to study and learn, okay? But they're saying that is your true destiny. So I'm like, wait a minute. So you mean to tell me now, even though that everyone can go to Ifa to find out their destiny, you're telling me now that everyone can't, because everyone is not going to Ifa, meaning they're not going to get their two hands. Some people just get one hand of Ifa, and that's all Ifa gives them. When you get two hands, that means you become a priest. So that means everyone would have to be a priest in order to know their destiny? I don't think so. Yeah, so that's the big debate going on right now. I'm like, oh, wow, no. That needs a show. But I'm telling you, no. You see? So that's, and they're saying it's true. They're saying it's true. So I'm like, how can that be true? Then what are you all doing? Deceiving everybody. Okay? And another aspect of that is with what we call, they call the Efentaye. Efentaye is a naming ceremony that comes with divination at the birth of a baby. You see? So now, we over here in the diaspora, many of us, or most of us, or almost all of us, come to know Ifa not as a baby. We come to know Ifa when we're an adult, okay? So what happens to that Odu that we were supposed to get from the very beginning to guide us through our childhood life? You see? You see what I mean?
Wow.
So that's the Odu that's of your destiny. This is my logic and I'm saying my, and a lot of other people agree with me too. But this is my logic, of you're coming into the world. You come as a baby and you don't know what's going on with you because you haven't met Ifa yet. Then all of a sudden something leads you to Ifa. You end up in Ifa and you want to know your destiny. Boom, you can go to Ifa, know your destiny, do your Ishifa, and get your first hand and make that connection with Ifa. But if one of those Odus that you got in your Ishifa does not tell you that you're supposed to go on and be a full-fledged Babalawo, or in the case of a woman, an Iyanifa in Ifa, a working Yanifa, that, there are many other names for the Yanifa. But if it doesn't tell you that, then what you're saying, you got to go to Ifa, you have to do Ishifa, you got to become a full-fledged priest in order to know your destiny is really controversial. It's off, and a lot of people are confused by that. But don't worry, okay? Don't worry, because there's a little bit more understanding that you need to have about how the traditions work, especially about levels of initiation and what makes you have this or have that, and the way in which you get it, okay? Because it could have been just a normal reading, but you're welcome. It could have been such a normal reading, but the normal reading also has taboos. It do, At least I know when I read people, they I tell them, hey, don't do this, don't do that, because this could happen, that could happen, blah, 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 blah. And it's up to them to listen to it, okay? There's also the Odu. Yes. But don't worry, because you're learning, and it's good that you understand things and you ask questions, Always ask questions. Don't be afraid to say, well, are there things that I shouldn't do? Not because you're sitting in front of Babalawo and he just tells you X, Y, and Z, that why you can't ask him, well, is there something I'm supposed to know? You know what I mean?
Is it out of order to ask if the Babalawo did it correctly?
To ask who? Who are you going to ask that? Who are you going to ask that to?
Perhaps maybe another Babalawo or a Nifa.
Well,
because a new person doesn't know if
No, they don't. They don't. And even if you're
how could I have been given an Ifa name with no ceremony and no hand of Ifa? See, I was new. I didn't know that then. So she gave me a hand of Ifa name.
Okay.
It's very difficult when you don't have someone to trust.
Are you sure? I mean, the name is not the Odu, right? But a name, right? Like Ifa something, right?
I went and got a reading. The Babalawo gave me my Ifa name. But the Babalawo told me who my Orisha was. The Babalawo gave me an Ifa name. I already knew that I was supposed.
Okay, so that is like pulling your destiny then. That was like pulling your destiny. So did they, ask you for your mama name, her birth date, and all of these things?
Yes.
Okay. So they were actually pulling your destiny, and in that reading, you didn't get any taboos.
No.
Oh. Well.
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, that's something. Okay. But that's something.
Maybe you and I can talk one-on-one.
That's right.
Because I paid for something.
That.
I paid for a consecrated item, and I would like to speak with you on one-on-one, and we can go in further detail as if. Okay. It should.
Okay.
I think you know where I'm. Okay. Perfect.
Yes. Yes.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Take up the time.
That's okay. Thank you so much. Okay. Area code 305. You're on the air with True Talk to the AFA.
Hello?
Yes, good evening.
Abu, yeah,
Ashe Boato, Ashe Warrior Food. How are you?
Pretty good.
Okay.
This is Babalawo Adedoja Aluko.
Oh, Kiwaluko, how are you? You sound so sweet and gentle, I tell you.
Yes,
okay. I'm good to hear you. I'm glad
gently.
to hear you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, listening to the young man. Somebody is not telling you. When you receive, everybody don't go to Ifa. Everybody don't have to have the hand of Ifa. But it's advised that that it's advisable that you receive it for a number of reasons. Okay, before you get initiated even to the priesthood. But everybody don't make Ifa. Babalaos, not everybody's not supposed to be a Babalao, Iya, and Ifa. Orumala said that himself.
Baba,
you understand?
they're arguing about it. They're arguing about it on Facebook.
You see,
I'm telling you.
You see, what you have to understand is that Rumla tell us in their yoga that everybody who studies, calls himself a Babalao, there's 1 out of 19 who is a Babalao. 1 out of 20 that's a good Babalao. You have to remember that. Ifa teaches us that himself. He says, so what you receive, what they're doing over there, I don't understand it anymore. You understand? Because it's so complicated that they, every day they come out with something new. But you have to remember that every town, every city got different rules that they operate under. Just like I come from Ife, my lineage is Ife. We even cast divination different people in Oyo. The Udus I give you in Ife is different from the Udus you get from Oyo. It's the opposite. A lot of them are opposite. So what I'm saying is that we cannot, a lot of people who come from a different town, they tell their students this. We under this diaspora, we don't really know. Because we learn, because all of this, they learn from birth. Now, you as an adult can have a sentaye. You can have a naming ceremony of your birth so that you can be in accordance, you can get in. You still can
I hope the listening audience understood what he said. I hope the listening audience heard what he said. The naming ceremony, the Efentaye, he says that as an adult, you can get it. Now, this is an esteemed Babalawo talking, okay, with many, many years in fact, okay? So, very respected Babalawo. So, if you get the Efentaye, you can get it as an adult. You see? And that's what I think is what makes the difference with what they're talking about online about, everybody got to Ifa in order to know their destiny, in order to know and have any guidance from Ifa like that.
See, that ceremony basically tells you your destiny. In case you don't have to go to Ifa, in case you don't have to receive the hand of Ifa, because the hand of Ifa gives you another form of destiny. But that Asente give you your destiny. And when you get the hand of Ifa, you build on that destiny as to what road you're traveling. And then when you go to Ifa, that's the icing on the cake. But everybody's not made to be Babalao. Now you Ifa.
That's my argument. That's my argument, But, but they're talking about it. They're talking about it in the Ifa studies group. I'm like, on Facebook. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay.
No, somebody is misinforming somebody. Because the rumor I never said that every human being had to go to Ifa.
More than one. I don't even know if I should be calling them Babalawo, but more than one person. From out of Nigeria says that.
Well,
they're backing it up, and these are they're online saying they're Babalawos,
Yeah, but everybody in the religion is not Babalawo.
That it can't happen. It does not happen.
It's not Ifa. You got people in Ogun temple that's not Babalaos. They can't go to Ifa because they're a child of Ogun, and Ogun don't want them to go no further. So I don't know how somebody can do something like that. If you can be a child of Shango, and Shango don't want you to go no further, he wants you to worship him. Now, if you go to Ifa without his permission, you're going to be in trouble for the rest of your life. You understand?
See?
So I don't know where.
And it's good thing you're saying these things because I understand the new people, the young people, and everything that are coming in because a lot of people feel that Ifa is just available to them. That all they have to do is spend their money and they get Ifa.
Right.
And there are many people who would do that, who would just give them Ifa, even though Ifa might be saying no. I mean, you really don't understand what it means to do this, and so then they go from there. You see, and then that's where a lot of the problems start up. You see, that's where a lot of the problems start up. So when we talk about ethics, we're not on the same page. You see, and that's a lot of that thing because some people ethics and stuff is different, but if you bring it down to like a simple thing, like moral character, moral things, like customs that we do, like what is the custom? You see? So you are the first person I heard said you can do the esentaye as an adult. And I keep indicating to that because look at where we are in the diaspora coming in. As adults, all of us, our eyes are like, we just open like a newborn baby, like, wow, wow, wow. Oh, wow, Ifa. You know what I mean? and we want to know, I mean, we yearning for it, and you have this deep thing down inside. We want to know, and, everybody want to be Africa, and all of this now. And, everybody want to get back to the roots and be, quote, unquote, spiritual, but it's just about understanding yourself, period.
You see, when we come to Ifa, we are babies. You can be a 30-year-old baby, a 40-year-old baby, a 50-year-old baby. You're still a baby in Ifa.
Exactly.
You didn't grow up where, because I've done it since that year over in Africa, in Ife. Baby. And, and that's the same thing with the Orishas, too. You come to the Orisha, look at the Lukumi system. When you get initiated in Lukumi, you know what they say? The child. They call you a child. The child so-and-so has come to initiate to so-and-so. You understand? That's the way how they write it, in your Ita. They just say, oh, the child, the child, the child member Pharaoh come there, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? So, you see? So it's the same thing. You come in as a baby, taking baby steps, and that's part of the ethical practice too. It's not the ethical practice for us to be, because it's seen as a form of disrespect when you come and you want to jump over the head of somebody else. Okay? When you come and you want to jump over somebody's head, it's seen as a form of disrespect. Okay? And that's part of how we could go astray from the ethical behaviors that we have here in our way of life. Okay? Now I want to talk about, yes, I'm glad Chief Oloku, you tuned back in. I am glad that Chief Oloku brought up that issue about the esentaye because it's real important how we come with humility as a people in general. I don't know if any of you remember back in the day when we used to say the village is who raised the child. I grew up like that. I grew up in, I was born in the 50s. So I grew up in a time when, great-grandmama, great-great-uncle, great-great this, and all the generations, everybody lived in the same area, okay? We lived in an circular thing with a big courtyard, and all the houses were around, and then they go up because it's a hilly place. So then they go up. It started going up like that from each other, right? And everybody was there. You play with everybody, and you didn't disrespect nobody. Everybody knew everybody. And when night came, you holler in your door. That's what we used to say, holler in your door.
you holler in your door and you go to sleep with your children. Even when they come into dusk, all the children in the courtyard playing, the elders are talking about what the day happened in the day. And, you know, a time when you couldn't speak unless you're spoken to. And these are some of the traditions, I believe, that we still held true to when, you know, in relationship to Africa. Because even if you look now at a lot of the customs of the African people, if you have to compare the way how they relate, they still bow to each other. They kneel. You'll see big grown people kneeling in front of other people. And one of the customs of our tradition is, you know, when you meet other elders, you either foribale or you greet them with the salutations and all of these type of things. You don't barge in their house, and run in the house like you and them are home girls, are home boys from back in the day, especially if you know that maybe it's the first time you're going to the home of another person that is initiated, whether it's Orisha or Ifa or both. You go into their home, and you yourself are initiated that way. Then, for example, how would it be? How would it look for a person who says that they're initiated to either Orisha and Ifa or both to come to your home and not acknowledge that Ifa and Orisha live in the house, not do any proper salutations in Ifa? I'm asking a question as this, and in the same, I'm making a statement, because in one hand, it seems like they don't know customs. I teach my people, anybody who comes to learn from me or gather any information from me about this walk of life, I say, when you're going to visit any person that have Orisha home for the first time, even any time, when you visit, don't go with your empty hand. You know why? You know there's Orishas there. You know the Orishas use different types of staples, like, they use gin, they use rum. Some people use tobacco. Some people use, palm oil. Some people use coconut. Some people use this. Some people use that. Any little thing that you know these things are Orisha staples, take it with you. Even to say you're going to bring some candies for Eshu or put some coins, in a lukumi, Eshu stays by the door. You don't come to the house of the Olorisha or the person who has, the Legba, and you bypass Legba without a greeting. Okay? That is something that we shouldn't do. It looks so uncouth. I don't know if some people thinking they only got to do it when it's a ceremonial thing, but you should be mindful and practice, because even though the Orishas are there, they're not ornaments. The energy is always around. And the energy is always looking, because remember, all the things that we do is about good and bad character. That Iwa Pele they keep bringing in everybody's head. I myself am trying to work through my Iwa Pele, my Iwa Rere, because I know I could be really hyper and it could be very aggressive. That's my upbringing. My people, they cuss a bad word in every other sentence. They cuss 10 bad words in every sentence. You know what I mean? So, when you cultivate a different type of way, you begin to act differently. You just begin to act differently. You're mindful that, hey, I'm going to Iya's house. Oh my goodness, I got about 16 Legbas that live in the house. You understand? So, that means what? You got a bunch of Legbas looking at you like sideways, like, oh, buddy, oh, wow, she didn't even bring me a little rum or nothing. I'm going to close her door. Bam! You understand? And if you might think it's funny and it sounds like a joke, but Legba will just shut you down just because you didn't act right. You know what I mean? And so things like that people need to be mindful of. not to mention that when people go to certain functions, I mean, I'm going to say this in defense of the Lukumi people. The Lukumi houses here, they have very strict rules. Okay, I'm in Miami, Florida, Miami-Fort Lauderdale area, and they have very strict rules about how they, who comes to what they wear when they come to what, and, you know, like Bembe, you know. I've seen some very inappropriate stuff happen at Bembe's. I've even seen inappropriate stuff happen at the Ocha. And one of the biggest phenomena ever of what I really think is inappropriate happens all the time with the Babas. The Babas have to have their cell phone when they're doing anything. The Babas got to get some petty beans or their ears or their omoles, or somebody to answer their calls for them so they can be free. I think that is so disrespectful. Honestly, I do. Because the time, say you're in, I even seen, I was witness to the plante that the Lukumi, when they're given it's actually the Shifa, right? So they're giving the hand of Ifa. They're giving warriors and everything, you know, Legba, Ogun, Ochosu. They're giving all of these, and they had a bear party in, quote unquote, that was supposed to be the Igbodu. Anyway, the Orisha at, that's the Igbodu, okay? Aside from the standard of what is an Igbodu. But the sacred space where they were doing the initiation, and they're drinking beer. Okay. Of course, you know, many things happened that day, but they were drinking beer. Is that normal practice? I know, like when the Babalaos are inside doing their thing, they brought Ifa down. This is what's supposed to happen. You know, they bring Ella down, and they bring Ella down, and they, you know, they're doing the chants, and they're doing the odus, and they're doing the opele or the kids, and here you go. The petty B of the house or whichever initiates or moles are working there, they serve them because they're busy. So you go, you make sure they're hydrated, you make sure they have a little snack or something if they're taking long, and you make sure they have this and that. Because you know, they do a lot of people, they do this mass, they do many people at once, you know what I mean? And but you have to have a lot of people working. But at the same time, you got to know is not everybody's going to be entering the room. Not everybody going to enter the room. And then what is the conduct that is going on in the room? The cell phones in the room is a big distraction. Because the time, the Baba, it could even be the Baba that's doing the divination, aside from the Baba that's around. So the Baba that's doing the divination, the minute he stops it, he can lose his concentration and break his concentration, regardless, I don't know, whoever is calling, and if it's an emergency or not. But a lot of Babas I see, they do it in Africa too. They do it in Africa, they do it here, you know. You know, always with the cell phone, always with the cell phone, always with the cell phone, okay? And you know, that's something that, you know, I don't know if we're going to be able to stop that right now, but that is something that I guess each individual Baba will decide, you know, see the sense in it and why somebody could either take the call or let everything go to voicemail until you're done. And then you return all of these calls after you're finished doing initiations and stuff. I saw someone, they were putting the corona, this is during Ocha, they're putting the corona on the head, and here go the seven, bring, and the person actually went in their pocket while you're singing song, you're doing the parada, and while you're singing the song and everything, and here go they, hola, and I'm like, oh my God, I almost got in trouble because I knocked the phone out of their hand. I mean, it was instinctual for me to do that. And and it was like it caused a little disruption there. I mean, I don't know. I turned out to be the bad person, but I'm not the one that had the phone. You see what I mean? So anyway, but these are the things. These are some of the things that happens. So when people go to another Orisha house, some people, I even had someone ask me, and we were already we were having an ancestral gathering, which in the Cuban system they call it misa. So we having an ancestral gathering, and there was some turmoil, and the person asked me point blank during the misa if they can go and sit in front of my Shango or go and sit in front of my prenda, and I'm like. Well, I was already in spirit, so they like, hell no and hell no. No. You can't do that, because who are you? And when we talk about these taboos, we're talking about things like that because taboos will tell you. Some of your taboos will say, you can't leave your Orisha unattended. It all depends on the Odu. Somebody can come and take something from your Orisha. You should not allow other people to be alone with the Orisha. If you're going to escort them to your Orisha to pray or whatever you're going to do, you got to be there. You see? So, it was really weird that this person asked me out of the blue to do something like that. And they got offended when the Egun, they were told no, and they got really offended by it. And but it's easy for people to get offended when they don't understand the ethics and the morals and even the taboos behind, these things. And for us as initiates, we have our own moral obligation to follow our taboos. Sometimes breaking a taboo could mean your life. It could mean your life. So I'm not really getting down on people in terms of sometimes when something is ethical to do and moral to do, then you have to make a decision not to do it. But you do it with reason and good reason, okay? You do it with good reason. Now, I want to briefly read a paper. Now, I'm going to kind of skim through it, but it's a paper by Stafford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, and it's entitled African Ethics. And the first publication came out in 2010, which is a good while back. But, under 10 years is still good. It's good information. And they're talking about ethics in terms of morality, how we as a people, from Africans in general, because they clump all African ethics together, right? And one of the very important points that they made in terms of ethics is how it boils down to whether your character is good or bad. Okay? And I want that to stick in our heads, because even me, sometimes I always hear Iwa Rere, Iwa Pwele, especially in my days when I was like challenging everybody, challenging when the Babala would say something, I was like, well, Baba, can I ask you this? And then it becomes a challenge, But and of course, because they weren't seasoned Babalawos themselves, because the seasoned Babalawos would know how to answer me without thinking I'm being rude or obtrusive, So anyway, so the Iwa Pwele, Iwa Rere, I am getting it. I am really, really getting it, I don't know when I'm going to ever be soft-spoken, but I'm getting to that point where you understand that, you got to make moral decisions all the time, moral judgment. And sometimes the moral judgment would be to, not to fight. not to challenge, not to, and just be cool. And that don't mean you're a chump or anything, I don't want to be the little old lady that sits in the front and just say yes, and no, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. Or the pretty appetitive that say, yeah, Baba. I'm not that type. But I know that you can silently acknowledge things, and you can take things to another level, just by being quiet. You can take things to a whole nother level just by being quiet. But so they're talking in general that one thing on the term ethics and morality, for instance, right, is saying that most philosophers, right, they use and they study morality, and it's understood to be like a set of rules, right, principles, norms, and things of that nature. And these things are what's conducted in the society. It's no different from what we do in these African traditions that we practice. We have our own rules, our norms, and things like that. And some of the things are given, like for instance, with the dobales, when people throw themselves on the floor and they make the signs, and those are for the initiates, especially in Ocha when you're going in to do certain ceremonies and whatnot. You do these things, or you're going to meet your godparents. You do these things, or you meet some elders. You do these things, right? And those are customary things. But there are certain people that have taboos in doing things like that. I remember my godmother wouldn't let me. She wouldn't let. I did it maybe once or twice, and she keeps telling me. She had to tell me not to do that, not to touch the floor, not to go down on the floor in front of her. And that's because it was stated in my Ifa not to do that I shouldn't do that. And I'm like, even though I'm trying to understand, because there's a twist to it. Because they say when you go down in front of an elder and they raise you up, they are in fact giving you some of their ashe. You understand? So that's the other side of it, where you get the ashe of the elder just by showing your respect, just by them touching you. And in parallel to that, for instance, in Togo, I got initiated to AFA, and in AFA, they're very much on touching. Like if you sit by an elder and you don't touch the elder, it's like taboo. Like you got to put your hand on their back and like pet them, like, yeah, Baba, If you don't do that, it's considered like you're doing something wrong. You see? And so we when these things happen, we just it's so different. So you have to know some of the moral laws and what's taboo, what's not taboo. These are some of the things you should try and find out, especially from the person who you're linked with, your spiritual house, and even you can study across the board and see what are the different customs. Like as the Baba mentioned earlier, there are different customs. Okay, there are different customs from place to place, even over in Africa, and the same thing goes on here in the diaspora. But again, I want to mention that thing that Willie Ramos is doing to kind of bring the Oloshas back to the same page. So again, you can go at eleda.org, okay, ELEDA, eleda.org, and look it up. I think it's like an announcement on that page, okay? And any of you want to join and learn, but again, you have to prove your initiatory status within the Lukumi, and I don't know if they're taking anybody that's not Lukumi, non-traditionalist, because that would be teaching them a whole other different way and a different set of norms, rules, and values, you see? But the Lukumi got their share of rules and stuff, let me tell you. And I've seen a lot of quote unquote African Americans embarrass themselves in some of the Lukumi houses. And I'm saying that because they don't know the rules and laws. So like at Bimbe's, when they're having the Anya, all these type of ceremonies that they're very particular about what happens then. Even when they're doing the middle day, all of these things that they do, that people go there and embarrass themselves because they don't know the custom, they don't know the rules properly, and all of these things. So it's good to know. It's good to know. That way we don't we don't offend anybody. In our action. Okay. So now let me go ahead and tell you guys. And first of all, let me say that thank you for listening so far. And thank you for the interaction that we've had, the dialogue. I really appreciate the dialogue. So if you have a question, you always can press 1 and raise your hand. And this is True Talks with Ifa-Fa, and I'm your host, Ifa-Fa, a.k.a. Melba Farrell. And our discussion is entitled Ifa-Fa-Afa and ORISA Ethics, okay? And we're talking of how we act, how our character is, how we want to be present ourselves, especially when talking. Talking doesn't make a difference, but action makes the difference in how you react and how you act in certain situations. You got to know how to act in the right situation. If you don't know, then you're in trouble, okay? All right? So this, I'm going by this paper here. So they're talking on the terms of ethics and morality, and they're saying that the moral principles and rules may emerge from or evolve by a particular human society. Even so, they are principles that can and do apply to all human societies, and it's the truth. Like how the Odu say, you don't lie, you don't steal, you don't take what's not yours, you don't try to shortchange anybody, and things of that nature. You just certain things you shouldn't do. They're right and wrong. So then it says that when the Akan, for example, the Akan, that's of Ghana, West Africa, their moralist maintains, for instance, that to process virtue is better than gold. And it's the living truth. Or when virtue founds a town, the town thrives and abides. And it's the truth. Okay? The Ghanaian says he strongly believes that he is making a moral statement. He is emulating a moral principle that human societies, just as Socrates and all these people surely intended his celebrated moral statement, virtue is knowledge, whether true or not, to apply to people and cultures beyond. Okay, so you gotta really look at that. There's something in here that they mentioned that I really found very interesting, because the ways in which they classify somebody that does not have character. The different people call them by different names. They don't have character, so they call them certain things. And if I could put my hand on, I was supposed to highlight it with my little yellow thing, but I didn't highlight it. Let me see. I'm going to find it in a minute. So anyway, but nevertheless, morality provides a clarification and better explanation and understanding of ethics. It can be said that the two terms can be used interchangeable, and that's the truth. So the term African ethics is used to refer both to moral beliefs, presuppositions, and especially of the sub-Saharan African people, and the philosophical clarification and interpretation of those beliefs and presuppositions. Okay? So here now. Oh boy, let me put my hand on it. I'm gazing through. ethics and the word of ethics or morality. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. All right. Okay. For instance, I found it. When an Akan person speaks, right, and says that a person has no moral, he is unethical. Okay? If you don't have morals, you're unethical. And he would almost invariably say he has no character. And they would say, that's like from an Oni Sudan point of view. The statement he has no morals or he is unethical is expressed by a speaker of the Ewe language as nonomu melisio, which means he has no character. And when I heard that, because Afa comes out of the airway tribe, the airway and fun, they practice Afa, and that's because they have elements of voodoo in their in relationship to Oromila, which they call Lumina. Okay? So that term, nonomo, I remember growing up because in Afa I saw so many similarities to things I saw as a child in the islands. It's just amazing, But that term, nonomo, right? When somebody don't have any morals, what we call them in the islands? Kunomono. A kunomono. Where did we get that word from? Ain't nothing in English language say kunomono. You know what I mean? But everybody know there you call somebody a kunomono is like, they really an idiot. They stupid. They ain't got no character. You see? Their character is no good. You see? So, hey, buddy, I'll tell you, so it all basically mean the same thing. Even in the Igbo language, the word agua means character, agua, and is used in such a statement as he has no morals, and there will be onwe, ge, ze, agua, and that's like, oh boy, oh no, this person ain't got no character. Okay, none whatsoever. And so they're making different comparisons about across the board with different types of people in this paper. I think I posted in the response section of when I post the show on in my group, and I think it's on my page on Facebook. My group is entitled Ifa-Fa-Orisa Ethics Talks, and so I post a link to this paper so when you have time you can read it for yourself and see the value in it. But he also said in the Shona language, spoken by the substantial majority of people of Zimbabwe, the word tika, and that's Tsika, means ethics or morality. But when they want to say that of a person, he has no morals or he is unethical, they would often use the words That like that, like dodo, we call people that are, so that's in relationship to the dodo bird, like they're almost dumb to the point that they don't understand that they're supposed to be acting a certain way. You see? Okay? So these things are very interesting. And so we're looking at those things. We're looking at how people across the board, different African people, we basically have the same idea that, to be moral is to be to be ethical is to be moral, and to be moral is to have good character, right? To exercise good character. So then we go, and in terms of Ifa, we go back to our Urdu, Ikafun, which is that's my Urdu in Afa. It's called Kafu. They just say Kafu. They take off the I's and the O's. But that's my Urdu in Afa. I have a hard time with that Urdu, living up to that Urdu, buddy, I tell you. I tell you, boy, I tell you. Don't break the law, Melba. Don't break the law. Anyway, I'm trying. I do my best. I'm only human, I do my best. And then, so then, now they're talking about the notion of character. Character, that's the central theme that all of us are striving for, because you ever notice as you become an elder, you get more quiet. Not that you're not talking, and it's sometimes like you don't even have to speak for somebody to understand where you are. You see what I mean? You don't have to say a word. I mean, my mom used to, my mom used to take care of elderly people when she was alive, And a matter of fact, my mom formed the first senior recreation program in the Virgin Islands. That when my mom did that. I'm so proud. And so I used to be around her all the time when she around these people, And she, they would be talking. They would be sitting down in a circle, and you barely hear anybody say anything. But as soon as something happened, you hear, and the other one say, and then you hear, and, and that's the whole conversation. Nobody say one word yet. And I be pulling my mother just like, Mommy, what happened? What is it? She said, shut up. Mind your business. I look at all this move because I looking to see something going to take place, and nothing ain't take place. Just your head, It's because whatever it is that they saw, sometimes they're even looking at you, me, the child, and they started business like, and I'm like, wow, am I in trouble or what? And this is how when you develop that certain type of character, like I'm finding, and no offense to my young brother who came on earlier, and he knows that something is not right because the Spirit is telling him, and with the little knowledge he has, he understands that certain things may not have been done for him correctly, right? Or what he expected to happen, and so it's a bit upset. But I really find it very, it can be very offensive and very dangerous to the way how you question a babalawo or challenge them in terms of what they did being right or wrong, and even finding out if, like, double checking what they do and all this type of thing. Because, for instance, if a babalawo will give you an ebo to do, and you get mad with him and you really feel like, oh, I don't need to do that ebo, or you da-da-da-da-da. And then you go to another babalawo and you ask the other babalawo to do the ebo. The other babalawo will basically tell you, no, I'm not doing that ebo for you because you didn't go through the process with me. So I don't know, I don't really know if that's what's really going on. So the other babalawo might tell you, listen, you need another reading. Then you vex because like, oh my God, you mean I got to come up with the next X, how much however money again? You understand? So, and it all starts out with maybe a lack of humility in terms of understanding what's going on with the babalawo, and if he's doing things in the right way. I mean, are you comfortable with the babalawo in itself? Or do you even have the right idea about how to approach the situation with a babalawo? When you go to that point of even getting a reading from Ifa, you see? So if you're going to get a reading in Ifa, I mean, if you want just to know what's going on in your normal life, you got a whole bunch of psychics, you got a whole bunch of spiritualists, like me, I can read people without anything. I don't need to divine with Ifa for that. The Orisha told me that too. So you understand? But there's a level of seriousness when you're really trying to develop your character and work towards getting involved with Ifa, for you to even know whether or not that if this walk of life is for you. You see? Because I tell people, listen, if you really want a reading from Ifa, be prepared to do the above. Otherwise, don't even try to go and do a reading, because then, because when you look around, you're going to pay for the reading, and definitely you're going to have to pay for the above. Most times, not all the time. Sometimes you don't have to pay for above, but that's what happens. You see, so people got to really be very cautious about what they are asking and what they're looking for, what they expect, a babalawo to do. So, I really, really suggest people do, a lot of research, ask questions. You can ask questions. I mean, on let me don't say this because, sometimes people ask questions online. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. Some of the questions people ask, I just bust out laughing because I'm like, oh my God. And the reason why I bust out laughing is, is because I say, oh my God, they just put themselves as bait. They put themselves in the trap. You understand? And I say that because, the online presence of, you can't tell if somebody's authentic when they're online. You really can't tell, And I know we're all enamored with Africa and the Babalaos coming out of Nigeria. But, I mean, people are calling themselves Babalaos now. They look so young. They're too young. You know what I mean? To me, I call some of them, I don't mean any offense, but I look at them and I say, who's this little boy? Talk about he's a Babalao. And, so I don't, so you don't, I try not to have any kind of relationship or a question and answer period with if I look at you and you're looking, like you're a kid, and that don't mean that you're not experiencing Ifa. It doesn't mean that. You could be very experienced in Ifa, but I think it takes a certain level of maturity too. It's not just knowledge. You have to cultivate a certain level of maturity to have the respect that you're trying to garnish and to follow that the name Babalawo deserves. You understand? Because Babalawo is, you're supposed to be talking about a seasoned person, a person who is, they've been there, they have age on them, they respect it, and, they've been through it, so they know. You understand? Not somebody who is telling you every minute, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that, I can cure. Oh, wow, that's the next thing. I can cure every living thing and everything. You see? So the values that you uphold for yourself is what you want to exhibit when you're coming in this tradition. You come in with a certain set of values. And I know a lot of people come naive, wet behind the ears, and they figure that, once they spend their money, that, everything going to be hunky-dory, everything going to be nice and cool. But when you get odus and you get ED, meaning they come in negative, like the people say Osobo, you get Osobo and all of these things, and then they tell you, well, okay, you got to do this, you got to do that, then that's when you feel like you've entered into a whirlwind of problems because you may not even have what it takes to complete that ebo, to maybe get the animals and, to pay for the people that are working because honestly and truly, they're doing manual labor. They're actually doing physical work in order to carry that. And this aside from the spiritual aspect of it, how proficient they are in the spirituality, the manual labor alone deserves some form of payment. This is my own personal feeling because I don't, for really, I don't do anything. And, don't ask me for a free reading because I don't do that unless the Spirit tell me do some free readings. I'll do it like that. But other than that, no, I'm not going to do a free reading because guess what? It's time and money. It's time and money, you see? So people have to get that through their head and not thinking, and whether you like the reading or not, it doesn't negate the fact that the person or the whatever work they did it doesn't negate the fact that they did in fact work. Okay, they did do something, and they need compensation for it. Okay. Okay. Now, whether it's work or not, that's not even on the person. That is on the Orisha. That is Ifa, and it also, in part, depends on how well the person, how proficient the person was in carrying out the ebo, but it also depends on how you, the person, are in doing what you do. Because, like for instance, people get initiated. They have their godparent, right? And then they go and start talking trash about their godparent. But yet still, they still want to go to the godparent house and let the godparent put their hand on their head and bless them. They still want, because they don't have their own Orisha, when they need ebo, they go to the same godparent and get the ebo done. But they're talking badly about their godparent. How do you think that, now mind you know, don't think that the Orisha are not alive, because trust me, I've come to learn from day one, they are alive as alive can be. Okay? How else can you explain all the different things that happen in the lives of people when they're facing all these adversities and all of a sudden, you know, it switch around, you know? How do you explain when, you know, you feel that maybe you're doing something wrong when you're actually doing something right? You know what I mean? You don't know how to explain these things, but they happen. And, you know, I could give you all kinds of stories, because I got stories. I could tell stories. All these stories of things that actually happened to me that make me to see these things. You see? So when you, the best thing, and I think, you know, I made a short video about people, they call it the Baba fake Babalao, fake Babala, fake Babalao. I mean, right about now, they have it like all Babalaos are fake Babalaos. Because if one don't do something, and these are people that say, well, it can't have that many Babalaos. I'm telling you, it can't have that many, and they say true Babalao. It cannot have that many true Babalaos. No way. But we blame that on what? What do we blame that on? First, logistics. When you get initiated, instantly you're calling yourself a Babalao. You're not correcting people because everybody thinks from time you do an Ifa initiation, you're a Babalao. Even people with their one hand come. I had somebody come and tell me they're a Babalao and they weren't. A man. That was recently. He come in a Buddha, and he told me, and come to find out he wasn't a Babalao. You know? It's a good thing I didn't take it. Don't talk and say nothing to my Ifa. You know what I mean? But but this is what I'm telling you. So you know, you gotta know Ifa. You know, you gotta be truthful. You gotta be honest about where you are. Some of us need to understand where we are. We don't even know where we are. Okay, in terms of our development. You know, how we come in, where we are. So, you know, so you will see people, and then aside from whatever they're going through, or whatever you personally, the person may be going through at the moment, you will totally forget that the Orisha are in your life. And that is something I keep stressing to people, to bring the Orisha in your life. Incorporate the Orisha into your life. Incorporate everything in your life into the Orisha. Because if you do that, and not try to keep the Orisha separate like how the Christians do church on Sunday, and then the rest of the week is the club, the hanging out, the drugs, that, whatever, you know. You know, if you bring Orisha into your life, you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about a lot of things, you know? Okay? Aside from, you know, if you have to do an ebo, do it. If you have taboos, you keep your taboos, okay? And for those of us who don't know our taboos, or we have odus, and you don't know your taboos, you need to at least get to learn what your taboos are. You know? Learn what your taboos are. That's why I like to tell people, know your Odu, because your Odu might be telling you contrary to what you think you want or need in your life. And your Odu be telling you, no, you don't need to learn the Osai. You need to come here and work and pluck the chickens. And that's a story about a doctor that wanted so badly to learn Osai. So he went and, that's learn the herbs and everything. He wanted to learn the airways of, the airways to use, different herbs to use in his practice. And he thought by, getting initiated and then getting Osai, he wanted to be specifically initiated to Osai so he can learn the secrets of Osai, because he saw how Osai, by using the herbs and everything, so many people could be cured and all of this stuff. And then when he finally went to Ifa, and Ifa told him, no, all you need is to relax, come here when there's a ceremony, pluck the chickens, and that's it. You don't need to be working with the Osai, doing the herbs and all of this type of thing. You don't need that, because the way how you're practicing is fine, because he might try to mix them, and then next thing you know, he makes a boo-boo. You see what I mean? So Ifa knows it all. They know the in and out, that what's going to happen in the beginning, the middle, and the end. You see? So this is where we are in terms of our own development, our moral behavior, and all of these things that we're trying to do. Okay? So good character is the essence of African moral system, Okay? It's according to this study, it said, good character is the linchpin of the moral wheel. The justification for it, the character-based ethic is not far to seek. For all the society can do regarding moral conduct is to impart moral knowledge to its members. Remember now, this is why we're having this discussion, making them aware of the moral values and principles of that society. So in Ifa, we never curse the Babalawo. Even the ones, the fake ones, and they're fake. It's just to curse somebody out is very, very bad. To curse somebody out, telling, oh, you a thief in MF, and, you are this, and, and start calling them all of them, you a blah, blah, It's bad. It's bad. It just brings a lot of negative energy towards you yourself. Now, suppose they do know something, even though they might be an immoral person, okay, calling themselves a Babalawo, because if you look at Babalawo stands for just person. He's supposed to be a just person, an upright person. That's synonymous with the name Baba Lawo, the father of secrets. You understand? So he's supposed to be a good person who knows the secrets of Ifa to help you, develop yourself and come into your life. So if you meet this bad person, this person that calling themselves a Babalawo and that don't have good character, how are you going to confront them with another bad character too? You can't don't do that, because some of them are so fierce. Some of these people, and I'm not going to call them Babalawos because they're not in some of the things that they do, but you meet somebody with a terrible character and he feel like you messing up his business or whatever, he will hurt you spiritually if he has that knowledge. And chances are, if he's doing bad things, if he's treating you badly, that means he probably knows a lot of bad stuff. And that is his middle name. They call him Badalawo instead of Babalawo. Call him Badalawos or something. You are Badalawo, Babalawo, you are Badalawo. No, don't listen to me with that, okay? I like to do stuff like that, but don't listen to me. I'm just making a joke. But I want you all to understand, that having good character don't mean that you're stupid. It don't mean you're a chump. You know what I mean? It don't mean none of those things, okay? Because, if you exercise sometimes, just leaving somebody alone, say, even because sometimes you got to walk away. I've known people that have paid thousands for ceremonies, and they had to walk away, leave everything because the Orisha said, hey, this person is You understand me? So things like that have happened. Me, myself, I paid for things I've never received. Paid for things that I received, and then when you look around, the thing wasn't, complete or something. All of these things have happened to me too. You understand? So, a lot of people, and that even, I bet you might find somebody that said is, that is a babalao or maybe a true babalao, and I'm sure that this person also passed through many, many lessons to get to the point where they are. You know what I mean? Okay? So in the Akan, for instance, and I'm making this reference, Pa or Papa means good. Imagine. Pa or Papa. Who do we call Pa or Papa? The same we call Ba or Baba, right? It's good. And bones means bad. Imagine bone, it's bone means bad or evil. Okay? So the expression unipa bone means a bad person. A bad person is said to be a person with bad character. So bambone, you understand? When a person is known to be honest or generous or compassionate, he would be judged by the Akan as a good person, by which they mean that he has good character. I understand people these days, especially here in the West, you mess with anybody, money, they be not mind that nigga, and they start calling the babalao a nigga and all of this stuff. You don't do that. You don't do that because, remember, we are all trying to develop this good character. Because when you have good character, a lot of good happens to you. Really and truly, a lot of good stuff happens. Okay? A person would be judged as having bad character if he is considered dishonest, right? If he's considered wicked or cruel. Okay? Now, I know for a fact, the young man that was on, and I know the person he's talking about, and I can tell you that's a dishonest, wicked, cruel person. I can say that because they have been that to me personally. So I know what he's dealing with. So don't worry. Things are going to change because your spirit led you otherwise where you can get better advice and good advice and you can get better outcomes. That's the prayer that I always have. I always want to meet people that either I'm able to give them good advice or they give me good advice and I have better outcomes in life. That means good things happen when you're with them. You understand? Good things produce. Okay? So they're saying that the person that is wicked, they're dishonest, and they're cruel, that is the bad person. That's the bad person with bad character. The most moral evaluations reference to made in the character of a person, thus his character is basic, the crucial element in Akan as it is in African ethics generally. And they talk about Iwa in the Yoruba. Iwa is character, okay? Perhaps the most important moral concept a person is normally morally evaluated according to her Iwa, whether good or bad, okay? Now, don't let people put on airs because me, for instance, like I mentioned earlier, I come from some cussing people, okay? Anybody know Virgin Islanders, especially St. Thomians? We use curse words like it's water, okay? Sometimes the curse words don't even mean that you're angry. That's just how the way you express yourself. You know, you will hear somebody say, good fucking morning. And they be like, what? You know, like, and they're saying it because you didn't hear them say good morning the first time. So they want to get your attention. So they say, well, good fucking morning, man. You know, and guess what? And they don't mean nothing by it. And the person will respond with good fucking morning to you too. And everybody laugh and they're happy. But you see, in that context, we use curse words that is sometimes playful. Now we use them when we're mad too, when we're really angry, and we really want to curse. Yeah, we use them too. But how do you preach good character and then start using all the F words? You know, I had to tell some people F off and blah blah on Facebook because of the things that they told me. I was like, my mouth dropped open, my jaw dropped down, and I was like, what? I can't believe it. Not these esteemed people, not these people who are supposed to be big babas and iyas talking to me like that. You understand? And when things like that happen, what happens? You lose respect for the person because you can't believe that they have broken the moral fabric and the ethics and, you know, the morals, their values of good character, of developing good character, to act like common street hoods that ain't got no upbringing. You understand? You see? So that's what we're talking about here. You know, how we develop our character. So good character, they say, is the essence of the moral African system. Okay? It's the real deal when you develop your good character, I swear. You know? And we have the time. It's very easy to not lash out at somebody, okay? If you practice it, you know? If you even upset for a minute about something, before you even open your mouth to say all the things you say, you want to say, you reevaluate what you want to say, and you can say it in a more gentle way. You can say it in a more kind way, okay? And leave it at that. That doesn't make you the fool. That doesn't make you the idiot. That doesn't make you the chump, you know? Like this little girl that say, bring things down to an even level, you know, to the heart level. Bring it down. Don't let it get to the top of your head where, like, you know, your giant egg wound done jumped inside your body and took over because he's a badass. You understand? We have to control ourselves. Really and truly, that's my thing. I'm trying to control myself all the time because I got them cussing ancestors that, you know, they'll come and ask me, what the F you talking about, you know? But so, you know, but when it comes to these, within our society, within our Orisha, Ifa-Fa-Afa-Orisa societies, we wanna act with a lot of moral respect, okay? But you're not going to show moral respect to people that don't respect you, but you don't have to disrespect them first. You understand? And you don't have to disrespect them at all. The minute they disrespect you, you know you need to be going the other way, running for the hills. Run away from them, and that's the end of it. That's the end of it. But if you take it upon yourself to act with disrespect to them, and you end up getting disrespected back, then basically you ask for it. And maybe you may not have expected that from a Baba or an Iya, but they are human too. They are human too. Okay? So it's always a good way to handle a situation where there's some misunderstanding. If you do it, if it doesn't get to the point where, you know, you're really pissed off at them, you really feel like you've been shysted, or you've been hoodwinked, or or they did something to you that's dishonest. Okay? All right? So that's something for you to think about. So anybody have any questions before we winding down to the last 15 minutes of the program? And if you have any questions, you can just press 1 and raise your hand, or a comment, you press 1, raise your hand, It's good to have dialogue. No question goes unanswered, and no question is really considered very silly, even though sometimes people do ask questions and you just shake your head because it just shows you that they don't know a lot of stuff, But you can raise your hand, press 1, and I'll try my best to answer your question. Okay. The other thing, let me just say this. When you talk about character, right? Moral character, and you're talking about ethics, okay? As an African people, I'm going to say this because in Ifa-Fa-Orisa Ethics way of life, we are talking about mainly people of African descent or African origin because it all started there, okay? And if you look at us as a whole people, we always been a people who have high moral values, okay? It's only since of late a lot of things, the moral values have depreciated so much. I made a statement. I put how you could put your story on Facebook. I put my story. It was an old story, but the old story is like almost like a reoccurring story because you have people that will always be there for you, and then you have some people that when you need them, you can't find them. Only when they need you, they come around, that kind of thing. So, then you feel really abandoned, you feel let down, you feel disappointed. So I put that story up, and the young lady, she inboxed me and said it was so difficult because, I was trying to encourage her. I said, be strong, and, this situation going to pass. It's not going to last forever and everything. But, she was really concerned about becoming homeless and having to have her and her children on the street. And this person is a person of within our traditions. And I said, wow, buddy, I wish our tradition was like before, like when I was growing up, when the whole village took care of everybody, when everybody looked out for everybody. But nowadays it's not like that. Even in the elays that they have, there's so much division and all of this, and in general from elay to elay, there, I even made notes about it. I find so much coldness, within the elays. The elays are like, oh, you're not from my elay, so you're not welcome type of thing. It's like a real coldness. I remember, and on my spiritual quest to be myself and to find out who I really was, for a long time I was Rastafari. And even though I was never really a Bible buff type of person, I just like the idea of the Rastafari, eating right and, not combing the hair and all this type of thing and all this stuff. And, I like some of the values of Haile Selassie and, all these, and they, calling each other empress and emperor and all this type of thing. And I really loved it very much. But then I found a very, like a coolness in between all of that, and that coolness came up with one single phrase: fire burn this, fire burn that. So they would go around fire burning anybody who wasn't like them, basically, and I mean, this was my own personal experience. Somebody else might have a different experience, but that was something that turned me off. Because I didn't want to be associated with anybody with a group of people that did certain things. That's for the same reason why I left Christianity, because I didn't want associated with people who, on one hand, were responsible for the enslavement, mental enslavement of nations of people. I didn't want to be associated with a group of people that committed many atrocities, that is slave trade and all of that was done in the name of Christ. You understand? By the Spanish and, and other groups. But, so I didn't want to be associated with that, so I left that. I went to Rastafari, I even embraced Buddhism. I embraced Hinduism. I really was on a trip, I tell you, and I studied all of these things. And then I think Ifa found me, or how it go. I think Ifa found me. According to I went to the Orisha, the system. We call the entire system Ifa because without Odu there's no anything, right? So I found my way there, or they're kicking and screaming as they say, and then I felt comfortable. I felt so comfortable that I always equate being crowned in Ocha with Oshun to being saved. Like how when the Christians tell you, I'm saved, I'm blessed in the blood of Jesus and all of this. When they tell you that they're saved, I spent many years in my young years trying to understand what that felt like. What was the feeling? How did it feel? And I never could feel it. And, so I used to go up every Sunday when they say, come up and, I accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. I used every Sunday until one day the pastor asked me why every Sunday I come up. I kept going up, and I was a child. I said, because I don't feel anything. I don't feel anything, So, I'm talking about this young lady and what she's going through, and the fears that she has. And, she's a single mother. A single mother is the norm, Now you can't even say I got auntie, cousin, grandma, great-grandma, this and that. The people, especially the African-American in the diaspora, a lot of people don't even know the names of their own grandparents. Their grandparents, most of their great-grands and their great-great-grands and this and that, because of the separation, because of the single motherhood that's going on. And, and it's very sad. So when you find these women out there trying to raise the children, and then when things go wrong, everybody points a finger at the woman. But this time she has no help. She has no help, you see? So these are some of the things that are going on that, doesn't stand right with what we profess to be as a people, what even the scholars find as our ethical, our morality, and our values as a people, as an African people. We are different from what they're seeing, or we act different. So our actions and what we say we are is two different things. Oh, yes, I'm an Ifa priest. Yes, I'm an Orisha priest. Yes, I'm a Yanfa. Yes, I'm an Olosha. And then they look at you, the other Olosha, with total disrespect and disdain. We need to stop that. We need to start embracing people. If you go to somebody's Ocha house and they do things differently from you, you respect that. You respect that. And if certain things that you can't do, you politely tell them, I really can't do that. It's taboo for me. Simple. I tell people my taboos all the time. All the time, my name is Miss Taboo. I have so many. I have so many taboos, like lending people money and stuff. If somebody asks me for money, I just give it to them. If I had to lend it to them, I really don't expect them to pay me back. Like I don't say, okay, you got to pay me back. I just give it to them, and if they pay me back, I'd be happy. I'd be thank you. You understand? Because it's some things you just can't do. But a little bit of kindness, like how the scholars, they're finding that, to be good and to exhibit good character is better, and good character don't mean that you don't ever curse a bad word one day. Good character really don't mean that, you don't say, you're dissatisfied when when you're actually dissatisfied. You know what I mean? You know, good character don't mean a lot of things, but it's the way how you show some kindness. You show respect to other people. You show kindness because guess what? Say somebody think badly of me, right? And before they tell me, and this actually happened to me, because a lot of people, you know, not a lot of people, but some people ganged up on me and call me a fraud and all of this type of stuff. Never one day took the time to even pick up a phone and have a conversation, to ask me questions if they wanted to verify something, or to come visit me, you know, or to get even a reference from me, from anybody, to verify that I have or I am who I say I am and I have what I said I have. You understand? But they commence to calling me out, post it. Oh, man, they try to really destroy my whole life, okay? And these are people in the tradition, and guess what? They believe that they are doing a duty and a service to people who, for a lot of reasons, could have just had a misunderstanding of where they are in these traditions. That's what they claim to be doing. They claim to be trying to champion people who got messed up or whatever. But it's just a ploy for the diversion of money, because for some reason people think I'm super rich, and I'm like, I could put myself in the poor person's category. I'm not in no way rich. Not in no way. Okay, I'm with you guys. We got separated for a minute, but we're down to our last 2 minutes of the program. And again, I'd like to thank you all for listening and for being patient. I'd like to thank the Chief Oluko that called in and, started the dialogue about, the Isentaye, which is very important. I want to thank our sponsors for the program, which is Ifa-Fa-Orisa Ethics Talk on Facebook and Try Traditional Healing. That's my own personal business as a priest, healer, and diviner. And you can find us on Facebook under Try Traditional Healing, or under Ifa-Orisa, and that's Orisa without the H, Egun Talks. And, we want to keep our programming going. If you come online and you see our list, all our episodes are recorded. You can also leave a comment, like our page, and we can keep it moving. If you have any suggestions for any shows, you can leave it also in the commentary box, and it would be greatly appreciated. If you yourself would like to do a show with me as a co-host, let me know as well, okay? You can reach me at 786-325-5239. Okay? That's 786-325-5239. Thank you so much for listening, and do tune in next week, this Sunday, coming Sunday, for another episode of True Talks with Ofe. Thank you so much. Good evening.
Let's go back to the roots. I wanna go back to the roots. Let's get back to the roots. Africans.
Yeah, I told you, we don't die, we multiply. Yeah. Let me introduce to you, Femi Kuti. Yes, sir. This is our boy Stephen O'Connor. Let's work for a better tomorrow. And yes, we can. Come on, Africans. Yeah, Africa is our turn. The old and the young, all the tribes under the sun. Let's come together all as one. Yes, we can. It's time for a change. Africa, yeah. Louder. Louder. Come on, African. Yeah. I can hear you. Louder. Come on, African.
This new remix is straight from Niger. JJC Troop on Niger. And I live in London. Got love for where I'm from, even though sometimes water no day. Electricity no day. Go sing karaoke, they want to love it, but we they still survive.
I'm a Niger, I am your child. I'm a Ogun, I'm a Todu Akogun. I'm a city me one in the bullet.